How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. In this video we are gonna talk about many different things. I'm gonna first talk about some tips for Unreal Engine users, the one that use UEFN, but most importantly, and like the title says, we are going to be making the Quixel material inside of UEFN. The reason why you may want to use this material as opposed to just make a regular material inside UEFN is because you can do several things with it. It'll probably take you a while to configure in a regular material, and this way you will have a material that you can reuse with any asset, not just Megascans. So this has the regular material that I made. So if I open this, you're gonna see that it doesn't have much. It has a little bit of a tint, a color, and but you can see all the options that we have here for the Quixel Megascan material. Now, if we use this instance, you see that it changes a bit because I've modified some things, but the beauty of this material is, if I can just reduce this screen, there you go. The beauty of this material is that we can actually go into albedo controls and we can desaturate this texture if we wanted to. We can also change the brightness here, depending on what kind of brightness we have. And this will allow us to easily match something like Megascans or even any other asset for that matter to our ground, to the kind of art style that we're trying to make. Something else that this has is the contrast, which again, it completely changes how the asset looks. And it's just by scrolling here without you having to go into the material and change parameters and all that. This is why I love this material in particular, and I thought it was really important that we can have it here in UEFN. The other thing that this adds is we can go here into the albedo tint, and if I bring this over here, you can see that we can change this to whatever color we want and make it wacky and cartoony like everything in Fortnite. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video, but first let's talk about some tips. Now, this is mostly for people that use Unreal Engine that are going to get into UEFN, and the reason why I say it is because I tested other things that bringing them from Unreal Engine will not work, and there are workarounds. So if you want, you can skip. There's going to be timestamps below, and you can just skip to whatever part of the video you want. If you want to bring assets from Unreal Engine into UEFN, right now, things that you bought on the marketplace will not work here. I've already tried several things, migrating things, the usual way that we do in Unreal Engine, and it gives me an error. It won't let me launch the game. It gives me that error that I showed you in the previous video, link down below, by the way, if you want to see that. And it won't allow me to play the game. So you cannot just migrate a full, not project, but you cannot just migrate a full marketplace asset into UEFN. You have to be selective. So in this case, if you want to bring the mesh, you can select the mesh and make sure you just bring the mesh. Make sure also that that mesh doesn't have material functions in the texture, because if it has material functions, even though we do have functions here in UEFN, it won't allow you to use them for some ungodly reason. Who knows? They probably have a reason why they don't allow you to do this. But you have to just bring the mesh instead of doing migrate. In other cases, like blueprints will not import, levels, do not even try them. And Niagara, I've tried importing certain Niagara files that I have from the marketplace. They did not work. Again, this has Niagara, I don't know why, but just so you know that there's problems there, just to probably help to save you some time. The workaround for this is that you would, instead of migrating things from Unreal Engine to UEFN directly, what you would do is export it out, export the mesh out, export the textures, then bring them back into Unreal Engine, and that's how it works, especially for Paragon assets. So if you're gonna use, because if you use Unreal, you probably use Paragon assets one or twice. The Paragon assets, they are configured in a way that apparently it's not compatible with UEFN, so they will not work if you migrate them. However, what you need to do is export out the mesh of the Paragon character, export out the textures, then bring them here, then they do work. However, the animations do not work. I brought in the animations and it wouldn't let me launch the game. Actually, they do work in editor, but it would not let me launch the game. So I had to delete them. After that, everything worked. All right, but now to the topic at hand. Let's start building this material. All right. Now, if you're familiar with my videos, and if you're not, you know that I like to explain how I do things, so maybe you can create something different for what I'm doing here. So let's start with what is material for people that are not familiar with materials. Now, if I go into the material that I built for this, you're gonna see that, by the way, just right click here in the editor, in the content browser, and click on material, you're gonna get one of these. So usually what you get is one of this empty, like this single brown node. What you need is these nodes right here. Base color usually means the color of your model. Roughness is the other file that you're probably going to use a lot. It means how shiny your model is, how reflective your model is going to be. So think of roughness as if you increase the number, you make it rougher. If you decrease the number, you make it less rough. So that's what roughness represents. Now, this is usually represented by black and white colors. So black means 0 in this case, and because 0 means that it's not rough, then your material is going to be like a mirror. If your texture is fully white, then that means the roughness equals 1 or close to 1, and that will give you a very rough material. So think of it like this: 0 would be a mirror, and 1 would be coal. However, because we are working in something that it's called PBR, that means physical based rendering, we're going to use real world values. In the real world, there is nothing that is 100% rough. There is nothing that is 100% mirror-like. So usually what I personally like to use is values between 0.9 for rough, very rough surfaces to 0.1 for mirror-like objects. Now, you could build the roughness in two ways. So let's say you have your color that you brought from whatever asset for externally. If you download it from Fab, by the way, you're probably not going to have to do this. But if you want to build your own materials, you will. So you bring your texture from somewhere else, you bring the color, and let's say you don't have this file. So let me break this. Let's say you don't have this roughness file, you want to add the number. So if you hold number 1 and click, you're going to get this little node right here. This is a expression constant that you can plug into roughness, and you can see over here that this turns almost into like a mirror surface because it is 0. But if I increase this to something like 0.9, there is pretty much no reflection. A rule of thumb that I follow, if I don't have a roughness map, which by the way, it's pretty useful, I usually go from a value like 0.6. That's my generic, I don't have a roughness map number, if you want to use it that way. However, I do recommend that if you're going to buy assets, that you buy assets that actually come with a roughness map. Now, the other node that you see here is a normal map. Normal maps are usually this color here in the editor, or this purple color if you see it in your window explorer. And they are the ones that give you that detail that is not geometry. Don't worry about that. Just think of it as the detail that you're adding to your asset. So the normal usually go into the normal slot, roughness will go into the roughness slot, and base color will go into the base color slot, usually called albedo as well, or diffuse map. You can find it as diffuse map in several other applications. Now, this is what makes a simple material in Unreal Engine and now UEFN. This will probably comprise the, 70% of your materials. Now, this doesn't have any sort of customization, and you may want to have some customizable materials in your arsenal if you're creating a map. The way that I would do that is by using the Quixel Material, because the Quixel Material, like I showed you in the beginning, allows you to do several things. Now, for this to work easily, if you want to do it the easy route, means we're going to get things from the Quixel material inside Unreal Engine and move them into UEFN. However, if you don't want to do that, I'm going to give you a screenshot of, and I'm going to talk about all the nodes that you're going to need. If you've never opened Unreal Engine, you should be able to do this as well. All right, but let's go the easy route first. If we open Unreal Engine, and again, if you do want to open Unreal Engine, I'm going to leave a playlist down below that you can look at. It's my playlist for beginners, and I will walk you through this whole thing. We need to go to the parent material, which gives us what we need to have for this Quixel material. So as you can see, it has the same thing. It just has other maps. So albedo, which is the color. It has metalness, which it just has metalness because certain things may have metal or not. This is another map that we're going to talk about in a little bit. It has DR, it's just roughness maps. In this case, there's something else there too, but for the case of UEFN, we're only going to use roughness. And it has the normal map. Now you see that this isn't connected to that brown node that we have in UEFN. It's connected to something else called MF. And this is short for material function. So this is material function, object adjustment. And then you have the brown node, which it seems that it was reduced. I'm going to show you how to do this as well. So what we need to do is get the material function, then get the brown node to look like this, and we have our material pretty much. All right. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, this is the easy route, select all this, Control C or copy, go to UEFN. Let me create another material, and we're going to call it parent mat for material tutorial. Okay, we opened it, and this is what you're going to get. Now, what we need to do to make it look like that one in Unreal Engine 5 is we only need to check this box that says use material attributes. So if we check that box, you're going to see that this turns into this small node that only has one plug. Now for this to work, we do need a material function because we cannot plug in these three things into one pin. So I'm just going to Control V to bring the nodes that I copy from Unreal Engine. And you can see they appear here just as they are. Now, these texture maps that appear over here, I'm not positive if they are here, because I checked and I couldn't find them. So I don't know if it actually copy and pasted them, but to not have any problems, what I recommend is that you click each and every single one of these and just replace it with whatever map you find. So in this case, I'm going to click in albedo. I'm going to scroll down and go here into material expression texture base. And I'm going to change this to something that's in here. It can be whatever you like. I'm just gonna type default. And this shows up. So default, base color white, whatever. It's just a diffuse. We're gonna do the same thing with metalness. Type default. Black color, again, it was pretty much the same color that was here. I'm going to do the default white also for roughness. And there's going to be a default for normals as well. So I'm just going to click on that and we're done. All right, we're almost done. We finished the first part. However, if you don't want to copy and paste, or you don't want to open Unreal for some reason, just right click, type parameter 2D. So it will be this one, texture sample parameter 2D. All you have to do is right click and this will pop up in here. Let's type parameter again. It's under texture. And there you go. You can call it whatever you want. And you also get it with a texture as well. So maybe if you just don't want to copy paste, it'll be easier to do it this way. Then all you have to do is rename it. So you just click here, rename it to whatever you want, and you can get it here. This box that you see around here doesn't matter. That's just a comment telling the other people what this actually is. All right. Now we finished part 1. Let's move on to part 2, which is the material function. This is going to be a little bit more complex, but it's not hard. Promise, it's not hard. So if we go back to Unreal Engine 5 and we go into the function, we can see that there's a lot of scary things over here. And there's also these two nodes that we haven't talked about before. What is this? Just a brief explanation of what this is. You have an input albedo vector. So the reason why you have an input albedo vector is because this will go into the albedo part. So this input albedo vector goes and have all these controllers, which are the controllers that you saw me using in the other material inside UEFN. This is how you get that going. And then you have the same thing for other, like the metallic. Then you have this one right here for specular. You also have one for roughness, and you have one for normal. We're mainly going to focus on the color, albedo, and normals. One of the things that we can do is just copy and paste this on the other side. Let's actually do that. So I'm going to select everything, copy, and go to UEFN. And we cannot copy that here because that's part of a function. So what I'm going to do is we're going to right click, and if you go into this material, you're going to see that there's something here called material function. So we click that material function, we call it MF for material function, parent underscore tutorial, and we go in here. Now you can see that this one has this purple node, which is the output result, just like the other one in Unreal Engine 5. You're going to see that there's this error because this function is asking for an input. It doesn't have an input, it's not going to work. So we're going to Control V or paste what we just copied from Unreal Engine, and I'm going to go and explain a little bit of what this is. What you can do is just copy exactly what you see here. If you don't want to listen to the whole explanation, just copy what you see here, and that's fine. The way that you find these nodes is you right click, and let's say you want to find the 1 minus x node. You just right click and just type minus x, which is 1 minus, and there you go. You want to find the desaturate node, you just type desaturation, and there you go. So again, if you just want to build this on UEFN without copying anything, what you can do is just take a screenshot of this and then look for the nodes, and you should be fine. All right, just gonna let you take a screenshot of all of these. Wait, there's the append. So there's this, and there's the append. Now, none of these are plugged in because we need to create a node called make material attribute. And the reason why we need that is because whenever we have this, we need something that gathers all this information and compiles into a material node that then we can express with the output. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to make material attributes, and you're going to see that we got this green node just exactly the same as we have it in Unreal Engine 5. Now for that, we're going to start with the base color, which we're going to plug in the base color over here. Base color and base color. Metallic into metallic. Specular into specular. Then we go to roughness. I'm going to plug that into roughness. And now we need to plug in this append node into normal. All right. And we are done with our function. All we need to do is plug in this pin into the output result, and you're going to see that error goes away. And then we just click save. All right. Now we have our function. Now, once you're done with your function, you just go into your parent material and you drag that function. This is the function that we just created, parent mf parent tutorial. You can also throw that into another folder, by the way. Just right click, create a new folder if you want to be organized. But we can just drag and drop it here. And as you can see, it turns into a function just like the one you saw in Unreal Engine 5. So after that, all we have to do is plug in albedo, metallic, roughness, and normals, and then we plug this into material attributes. We save, which also applies the material, and we're done. That is it. Now, once you're done, you're not going to apply this material. You're actually going to make an instance. So the beauty of this is you build it once, and then you don't have to build it again. So we have a parent material that we can just reuse over and over and over with whatever textures we have. So we right click, we create a material instance, we call it whatever. So I'm going to call it Cliff Tutorial Instance. There you go. Now, when you create an instance, all of those parameters and all those nodes that we have turn into this. So now that we have this, we can actually use them and reuse them, and we can see the results in real time without having to hit apply or to save the material, whatever. We scratch that, we actually have to save the material. So let's look for some textures. Let's actually use these textures right here. So I'm going to duplicate this mesh. This mesh is using the regular textures that I created first. So I'm just gonna go here, double click, and oh yeah, the textures are in the same folder. Silly me. Now let's make this smaller so I can fit it here so you can see what's up. Now let's add the textures over here. So I'm going to click on albedo and drop this one here. I'm going to click on normal. You have to turn them on, by the way. And we throw roughness in this global parameter that we have here. There you go. We have all of our parameters. We're going to save that. And we're going to drop this, drag and drop it into the material slot. And absolutely nothing changed. And nothing changed because we had the same parameters of this other material that I made. We haven't changed anything. So if we turn these on, you're going to see that if we, let's say, choose another color, you can see my mountain changing over here. Let's just put this down to 0, which is not affecting. We don't give it any color. Or you can change the saturation over here. Let's make it more saturated. Let's desaturate it, make it kind of like black and white. Let's make it brighter. Let's make it darker. Things like that that you can affect. Let's increase the contrast. So let me make something super wacky over here so you can see. Let's make it, I don't know, green. And not as contrast. Let's make it super bright. Let's make a radioactive cliff. Sorry. And let's play the game. I'm gonna launch the game and show you. All right, here we are in our game. And as you can see, our crazy green mountain that we just created is right here. So that proves that this new Quixel material that I made works fantastically with this cliff. And I think the collision, it's pretty big. So I don't know, sorry, this is as far as I can get because of the collision that this produces. We're not going to talk about that, but I just wanted to show you how these materials will allow you to change your asset pretty easily, especially with custom assets, or if you want to do it with Megascans, because as I explained it in the video before this one, it would not let me bring in the Quixel material, it would not let me migrate for whatever reason. I have no idea why that is, because you can see that we can make the same material here in Fortnite, so we can have this this kind of neat customization for materials. And like I said, this is not only related to Megascans. This you can use with whatever other assets that you have in here that you want to use for Fortnite, that you just want to be able to customize it pretty quickly and with those parameters, just like I did here. All right, everybody, that is it for this video. Thank you so very much for watching all the way up until this point. I do have a Twitter if you want to follow me on there. There's an Instagram. There's a Patreon if you want to donate to the channel. It really goes a long way. If not, leaving a like and leaving a comment for the YouTube algorithm really helps a lot. There's also the Discord if you want to join us there. There's a community of over 1,000 people in Discord. And I'm going to create a tab for UEFN so you guys can have a place to just talk about these things, all right? Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you next one.